if you had to give one tip to a new writer, what comes to mind? What do you think
Write
that would be?
everything. Like, just do not say I like writing this and I don't like writing this. Like, try every single kind of thing. Try writing comedy, try writing drama, try writing sex scenes, try writing romance. So many people that I know, especially male writers, are like, ugh, I hate romance. But like, dude, romance sells. Like, and romance is in everything. So like, learn how to write it. I'm not saying you have to write a romance, like a romance book. I'm not saying you have to write, a romantic comedy. That has to be your thing. But like, you need to know how to write romance. Just like you need to know how to write action and conflict. Like, it doesn't matter what you write. Like, if someone really wanted to write romance, I would tell them write a thriller, because like, you need to know how to pace. Like, you know how to pace things, and you need to know how to create conflict. And even if you're not punching people, romance, like banter, is all about like jabs and hooks and crosses and all of that
Right.
stuff that you learn writing action. So when I started, I wrote thriller, I wrote like indie, I wrote romantic comedies, I wrote horror, I wrote sci-fi, I wrote everything, and I tried to write them as quickly as I possibly could and see if I liked them. And I was surprised at how much I liked certain things and how much I didn't like things I thought I would enjoy. And so you really have to dabble in everything when you first get started, because there's this whole part in the career, and um, I don't know how much you talk about, like, I talk about the business part of it, like making money a lot, like the actual like from I have a thing to making the money on it and making a career, and that makes people, I think that I discount the first part, but the first part is the most important part. I have a book called How to Build Your Creative Career, which is like the first part is making great content, and if you can't make something great, then none of the other stuff matters. And the way you make stuff great is by dabbling in playing. And like, that's the great part about school, is school allows you to, in a structured, safe environment, play and decide what you like and decide what you don't like. And if you don't get that in school, you have to build it for yourself.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a great point. Writing, I mean, I've never written romance, but I've never, it wasn't a decision to not write it. But writing a slow paced scene dramatically and building the tension, I mean, that's something, to me, that's kind of what the heart of a romantic scene would be. The tension between two characters, and building that is certainly a good test, or something for new writers to try and do, along with the action. Like, don't,
Yeah, and
just because
all
you love reading and watching action flicks, doesn't mean that that's all you need to know how to write.
Well, the
It's
thing is that about action flicks is there's almost always romance in them. There's always like a girl or a
sure.
boy who has to be saved, and or like there's a aromantic, like familial love. There's always like some love that's going on, but more
Right,
importantly, like, action takes up very little, even in action movies. Most scenes,
right,
most sequences are two characters talking to each other. Like, they are not bang bang, and they're not bang bang shoot 'em up. There's tension that's built through like espionage and like whatever the thing is.
right,
But like, most scenes that you will ever write as a writer are two people walk into a room and talk.
right. You
And
have to know how to build that character development,
right,
and pull that empathy in. You have to know how to make the reader relate to it and say, oh, I can see myself in that situation, or I've been in something like that, or I can see why he's thinking that way
right.
at the drop of a dime.
Yeah, and one of the ways you learn how these different characters act is you put people in different situations. Like, what
Right,
happens if you drop two people in a romantic comedy? What happens if you drop them into an action scene? What happens if you drop them into all of these places? But most things, if you watch James Bond, it's like things building tension, like big action scene, and then another like 10 minutes of building tension before there's another
right,
action scene. So I mean, you
right,
talk about Black Widow. Black Widow was mostly about her family,
right.
and then with parts of action, and
Mixed in, yeah.
same with Loki, and same with like WandaVision. All these things come down to the relationships that you build, and I think you learn them best, honestly, writing romance, because like, that is like, you don't have much, and the reason is you don't have much. Like, you've got two people in a small town, and the only tension is, will they fall in love and how? Like,
Right,
there is always the little like, will my bakery live, or like will my bakery die, or like whatever the thing, whatever like the overarching tension of, but it's like very small, and like you
Right.
if you can make like two people falling in love in small town America like compelling and interesting, like you can pretty much do anything else because
Right.
that
You can't
is
use.
yeah I mean
You can't use. Sorry to cut you off. Like an action scene, you can't
right
use the aliens are landing in the midst of all this. I can't escape to that as a crutch, to get away from writing the tension and building and fleshing these characters out.
yeah
Or
and
even
and,
writing
and
a play. A play with two characters sitting on stage, like a
yeah
short. What is it?
Waiting for
Is it a
Godot.
screenplay when you
Yeah,
write a play? It's called a
tell
screenplay.
it's just a play. Just
Just
a
play.
play.
You write the play. They put on the play. But yeah, writing a play, two characters hashing it out. I mean, you learn a lot through that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you'll learn that most action, like just open the first book that you can find anywhere and just look at how much of it is action and how much of it is drama
Right.
and building up to the action. And once you know how to build those characters and have two people together, then like you can always fall back on it because like I actually don't like writing action scenes. I think they're boring. Like they and like every time whenever it's two characters talking to each other, I'm like, cool, like I can do that. Like I can make that interesting.
Yeah.
Like when it's not less in comics, more in novels, but like when it's just two people fighting, like it's so hard to like make that interesting
Yeah.
in any way that will make you care unless you've done the work to
You have to
build
earn
up
it.
those two people beforehand. Like the only reason you
Mm-hmm.
care if this person survives like the attack, maybe well one probably because you're not a sociopath and like you just want people to but like it's because you fell in love with them, but you fell in love with them by the actions that they took and the words that they said. So
Yeah. Yeah,
so
they have
yeah,
to earn that fight scene. They have to earn you giving a shit whether or not they die in the fight.
right, and
Right?
and the reader also has to earn it. Like
Right.
that's just something that like the writer has to earn the fight scene, has to earn the big emotional payoff, but the reader also has to earn it, and it's way more important that the reader earns it. So
Right, right. That's
always
what I meant.
yeah, always err on the side of the reader hasn't earned it yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I think working with an editor took my game to a whole nother level. Aside from running the Fourth Monkey a couple years back, but bringing Chaz on in Wretches #2. I think after the second Kickstarter we did for it, bringing him on just took my game to another level where I think he pointed that out. There was something going on. I think it might have been somewhere in the middle. There was something that wasn't earned. Maybe it was a character turn. I can't remember what it was. But he pointed that out to me, and I just, it just, a switch kind of flicked in me like, okay. And now I'm always looking for that moment and making sure anything you're writing needs to be earned. It needs to be set up. So yeah, 100%. When it comes to action scenes, I mean, I keep mine minimal, a couple of pages an issue, if that, but it needs to build up to that. Or it's going to start off the issue with that, and then the rest might explain it. Depends on what the story, what the pacing is in that particular issue, but totally, you must earn these emotional moments.